Okay, there. So it's Tuesday, November 1st, and this is the November Academic Life Coaching Info Meetup. And we get together once a month just to support coaches and answer questions and share ideas. So I have a couple of questions that have been sent in, and let me just throw them out to Kay and Joanne, who are here. Between the three of us, we can kind of share some ideas. So one of the questions I thought was really interesting, because I'd never thought about this before, is how can I shape my environment to be supportive of my goal to become an academic coach?
What does that mean?
Well, that was my first reaction. What does that mean? And because I can't speak to the person who asked it, I'm going to say however we interpret that.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Let me share the first thing that crossed my mind, because this may serve as a springboard as you're considering. One of the things that early on in my coaching in particular, one of the things that shaped my environment was being flexible. I don't know if you call that shaping the environment, but in the beginning I would offer, whenever the client was available, nights, weekends, anytime, I would be there. And so I think I would put that in the category of shaping my environment to be extraordinarily flexible, to be able to start building the client base. So that's an example that came to mind when I saw this question. Yeah, anything else occur to you as you're pondering that?
You know, again, interpreting on our own, right? I think one of the things that's key for me in shaping my environment is having the support, having other coaches around me, having a coach, obviously, because I think it's so easy to fall off track, or as my coach and I will say, you know, to crawl between the wall and the desk when it's like, I don't know what's next. And it's, you know, when the saboteur sets in and all of that. So I think for me, shaping my practice, I'm seeing that having that support, having something like this is essential to keeping on going and not letting go.
I hadn't thought of that, Joanne, but I would echo that. I'm fortunate to be in a geographic area where we have a lot of coaching presence, both ICF and CTI, which is where I was trained. We have several networks of coaches who meet on a fairly regular basis. I hadn't thought about that. That was helpful. And having your own coach, that actually brings up a really interesting topic. I know I'm at my best when I have a coach, and I tend to invest in coaching in the summertime when it's a little slower. So that tends to be when I'll hire a coach for the summer months and focus on one area of my business. Yeah. How do you structure that?
I actually just re-upped my contract with my business coach. I had her for 6 months, and now I have her again for another 6 months. And at the risk of sounding a little bit like an addict, I do so much better when I know that I have my Krista call coming up. Yeah. And, you know, those couple days before, we meet every 2 weeks, but those couple days before, we start ramping back up again. And then we have our call, and, you know, then I'm flying through all these wonderful things that just happened and all the things I need to do, you know, and I'm one of these people who it's like, okay, A, B, C, D, done. And then I kind of lull off. And, I think part of that training that she and I are going through, or that I'm going through with her, is learning to sustain that, so like I said, kind of like the addict, when it wears off, right? And it's like, oh, I need more, but I can't have it for 2 weeks. It's just fascinating, because I just fly when I work with her.
Oh, yeah. So having that accountability, the shot in the arm, and then on the right after, and then the accountability right before your next session.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like a booster shot. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That actually is a really interesting thought. And the one's coach, certainly a business coach, as you're developing and changing your business, but it could be in really any aspect of coaching.
Oh, absolutely.
A mentor coach in terms of improving your coaching, stepping into, getting the courage to step into another area of business or another way of marketing yourself that you might be holding yourself back from. Yeah.
Well, or maybe even Kay, in your case, having had all of these. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know how to turn that off. Not my phone. Having all the challenges that you've had, it's like, how do you get back into it? What do you do to reignite?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fabulous idea.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I need to do more of that. And that would probably help me a lot. I think I'm in kind of this weird, I don't know what to call it, kind of a weird void gray area where I need to do all those things, but I need some income too. So it's like, I get it. I totally agree that, and I should pay for a coach and be getting that support, and that's going to benefit me and probably help me to build my business better. But I'm kind of in a weird area where I'm probably I'm just kind of stuck with where I'm at right now. So and maybe it's I just need to do some other kind of getting myself out there and networking and things like that. But in all understanding, I'm not beating myself up about it too much. Right. But yeah, I totally agree. I think it is. Just doing this call helps me a lot. When I've missed it, I've gone back to see the recordings just because it does give me that other extra boost. But yeah, I think it's important to have that networking. I've heard this so much about everybody having an ongoing coach, and I love that idea. I just haven't gotten that in place for myself.
You know what, Kay? I took a leap a year ago and quit a job and had no income. I was floundering on trying to figure out, okay, CTI does a great job of training coaches, right? Mm-hmm. But then when it's like, okay, how do I do a business? How do I create a business? It's like, okay, now I don't know what to do. And I was like going to Pinterest and doing my little DIY projects. And I had no income either. I shouldn't say either, but I had no income when I made the leap. And I decided to invest in my coach, and I took money from savings to do it. And right at about month 5, I 4-fold made up my investment.
Wow.
It was amazing. 4 times what I invested, I made up in month 5. Mm-hmm. So, as scary as the day is long, frightening. And even now to re-up with her for another 6 months, but it's like, boy, if I invest, X and I do 4-fold in income, it's a huge leap, and it's scary and it's painful. Mm-hmm. But she keeps me focused, and it worked.
That took a lot of courage, Joanne, and it's a wonderful testimony to having to taking the leap and having the faith. And thank you for sharing that with us, because I think that is a huge concern and barrier for many coaches.
Oh, again, did I have that money? No, I didn't. I absolutely didn't. But I knew I'd be still sitting back there going, okay, well, where do I go? What do I do? How do I do this?
Yeah.
So it's awful. It's an awful leap. Kind of like when you jump into that ice cold swimming pool and you go,
wow.
But you jump out invigorated, right? You come out going, this is wonderful. So.
Well, that's inspiring.
That's my story.
No, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. That's good to hear.
You're welcome.
When I think of environments, I also think of when you first said the word support, Joanne, I was also thinking of family. If that happens to be your situation, and in my case, I had two boys who were in high school, and I had to really think. I had to make requests of my children and of my husband that were very unlike me, and actually was out of character for me. And they could not have been more gracious and supportive and welcoming. But it was a leap of faith on my part to tell them what I thought I needed and to ask them to help me with that.
And to be so brave. Wow.
Yeah. So thinking about environment, that's something else that comes to mind. What requests would you have from your family or your friends or whoever your life might intersect with that would help you on this journey? Interesting question. Okay. Anything else come to mind?
Do you have other questions that had been submitted?
I do. However, if you have one, Kay, I'd rather address that first.
Well, I guess my question, it's huge, and it's of course open to interpretation for either one of you, but just to kind of share with me kind of the tenets of what your business is, kind of the areas of your business and kind of a day in your life in your business of what that looks like. And then I don't know why that popped in my head, but I'm just kind of curious with both of you, kind of what your day in the life is.
Yeah. Joanne,
if you want to share, if you feel comfortable sharing.
Mine is actually in transition as of last week.
That's exciting.
Well, I think Gina, you had said something earlier about changes and developments in your practice. When I decided to do this, I was going to coach women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who were living in a moment of transition, whether it was empty nesting or a marriage change or a career change, really helping to embolden women to step out and go after their big dream. And I still love that, and I'm still very much part of that. Then I was introduced to academic coaching, which goes in hand with the 15 years of experience I had running a nonprofit in the education space. And I thought, well, this is exciting. So up until last week, I was academic coaching and women in transition. And then it occurred to me that my 15 years of experience in college readiness, in applications and scholarships and FAFSA and all of that craziness, it's like, well, that's a consulting piece for me. So I actually just changed my business name. It was New Heart Coaching, and now it's New Heart Coaching and Consulting. Mm-hmm. So the way I'm structuring it as of last week is the academic coaching for middle school, high school students, the college readiness piece for sophomores, juniors, and then the mom's piece when those kids go off to school.
Mm.
So it's just kind of crazy how it keeps the onion peel, I guess, keeps one piece at a time. So, and I think, Gina, it goes back to what you were saying about being flexible, right? And being open, I guess, to messages and understandings of, oh gosh, well, why would I throw all those years of experience away when that actually would boost my credibility?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm doing, Kay.
That's interesting. Where are you living? You're visiting Nebraska, but where are you living?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I just moved there. I grew up in Milwaukee. I moved back home a year ago. And so it's like a brand new city for me. And so my children are 27 and 30. And so I don't have high school connections. So it's kind of like it is starting from scratch. But fun because, from a social perspective, I really believe in strengthening education as far as and as wide as I possibly can.
So how are you getting all that out there? How are you letting people know what you're doing?
So in the words of my very first business coaching section is, identifying who my ideal clients are. Who do I really want to work with? And again, it keeps changing now. It's evolving, right? But the magic question is where do those people hang out? And so it's, as I look at the academic piece, I'm going to libraries and posting posters at libraries, for example. Crazy as this is, I just had an appointment last week with an aquatic center that does competitive swim coaching of high school students who have to be scholars to participate. And so I went into them and said, okay, here's what I'm doing. How can we work together, either individually one-on-one with your parents and students or workshops with your group?
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just finding out where do they hang out. And in the academic piece, what I learned is not where the students hang out, but where the parents hang out. And so the students are at the aquatic center, and so are their parents, as an example.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Exactly. And my evolution, Joanne, was remarkably similar to yours.
Oh, okay.
So I started CTI. When I finished my CTI training, I was working with women who had been women professionals, had taken time off from work, and were transitioning back into the workforce.
Okay.
And that's what I had done. I'd been with IBM for 20 years. I took some time off, and I then started my own business with the coaching. And after doing that for a couple of years, I kind of stumbled upon the thought of coaching youth as my son was going through the college application process. So that's when I became trained in ALC and started working with high school students around typically direction and leadership, but also college readiness. Mm-hmm. So I still work with women. I still work with juniors and seniors around college readiness and approaching the college application process by putting the student back in the middle of the process where they've been so far removed, helping them understand what their unique strengths and values and qualities are so that they can make better decisions and so they can present themselves in a richer and more unique way. That evolved to helping students transition as freshmen to the first year of college. Mm-hmm. So, calls started to come in from either students I'd worked with or friends of students I'd worked with or parents of students I'd worked with who now had freshmen in college and who were having challenges with that transition. And then the final piece that's been added in the past probably 2 years is I'm also, probably the largest part of my practice right now is working with young adults who are typically in their mid to late 20s. They've been out of college a while, have had a job or two, and are trying to decide what their next steps are. It's a graduate school, change of career. They're at that decision point. And it's a very logical time to be helping them think through that big decision.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it keeps evolving in just a very organic and natural way. The common, there's so much that's a common denominator, in terms of the work we do. It's just applying it to a bit of a different focus. And the other aspect about and benefit of working with college students, adults, and young working, well, more the college students and adults, is that those are my clients I have in the morning.
Hmm.
And then the young professionals are at lunchtime and evenings, and the high school students are more in the afternoons.
Interesting.
So it fills out the day. So that gives you a sense, Kay, of
Yeah. So Gina, I think I gather you're full-time in your business.
yes.
Okay. And Joanne, are you full-time in your business?
Well, yeah, it sure feels like full-time and a half. Yes, I would say yes, absolutely. I do a very minimal amount, maybe 10 hours a week, work for a nonprofit that does college readiness for underrepresented youth.
Mm.
So I still get to play in my old sandbox, if you will, just in a different city and a different organization. And that's more out of my commitment to their executive director, because he's helped me tremendously in other areas. So I still dabble in that, but my coaching business is my full-time focus.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. It's interesting to me.
Mhm.
Any ideas too.
Kay, what about you? What are you doing? What's your focus? Where are you?
Well, my focus has been, when I jumped into this a couple of years ago, was I'm a school counselor in my other job. So I am part-time at a school. And so my plan was to be part-time as an academic life coach. And I've been much less than part-time with it, just because just a lot of other things going on. But that was my plan, and it felt like a really ideal situation to have, I'm 3 days at my school and then have a couple days in the week that I focus on coaching. So that, to me, seemed like a good arrangement. And I like the idea that I've been able to continue in a school, because I feel like that keeps my toes in what goes on with kids and just seeing the school environment and see what goes on in their days. So it's felt like a really good complement to each other. And I guess the other part is, when I got certified as an academic life coach, what my intent was to really focus on that. But I think what I'm hearing you guys say is you're also doing this other consulting, or Gina, you're talking about these young adults, which I've had a few clients that have been at the college age too. And so that kind of opened my eyes to this possibility that I hadn't seen in the beginning of these young adults. So I have steered some of my focus to some of those young adults, because I think it did open my eyes that there's really a lot of them that are seeking some guidance or coaching, or just some support. So I see all of those things. I just haven't really moved forward very well with it all. But I see all of it as great things. I started up, I did some business coaching, and I've moved forward on a lot of things, but I don't know. I just kind of got stalled.
If you were to choose today, would you have a space that your Happy Dance client lives within?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
So if you had to pick a Happy Dance client of all those that you listed, which ones really would you have fun coaching?
Oh, I don't know, all of them. I kind of enjoy all those areas. I enjoy kind of the younger, quirky middle school kids, and then I like the high school kids. They're just like, launching their futures. And those young adults, I love the kind of interaction with them because they get it a little more on life. So I don't know. I don't know if I can say one is my favorite. I really kind of like all those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And when I started with my coach, my business coach, that was one of her questions was, okay, pick one. I'm like, are you kidding? You pick one. And again, I think I'm on month 7 or 8 now, and I'm starting to pick one. And it's the students, which is interesting, right? It's like, I want the women, I want the students, I want this, I want that. And, her point was you have to have one and the rest will follow. Well, I just resisted all that.
Mm.
And now I'm seeing it evolving, and not that I will have one, but it's one that's kind of leading the way.
Mm-hmm. And when you say leading the way, Joanne, what focus or what does that drive?
I think, again, what became so clear to me in the last few weeks is my love of those high school kids. And being able to shape and direct and uncover, have them discover that they have the skill, they have the ability to make these decisions. And granted, mom and dad may have other plans and desires, but it's empowering those students to design their future is pretty darn exciting.
Mm.
And so I really like playing in that high school sandbox.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And when one becomes focused on an ideal client, that also informs your marketing. It really helps you focus where your target audience is going to be hanging out. The broader you are, the harder it is to focus on that. Mm-hmm. So from a marketing point of view, that helps.
And I think, Gina, you're spot on with that, because as soon as I said, it's those high school kids,
mm-hmm.
all of a sudden I was like, oh, well, I could contact these people and those people. And if I talk to so-and-so, they know. And all of a sudden those dots started to connect.
Yeah.
And again, although I love coaching women, I love that arena. For me, that was just a really, just kind of a little messy place to play of, okay, where do I find them? I find them through their children.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got to where I am.
Yeah, and you had mentioned where, going where the parents are hanging out, the libraries or the sports facility, and I used the same tact when I was starting on the high school with high school students. I gave presentations at women's boutiques, all kinds of places where moms were hanging out. I'm trying to think of parent groups, you name it. I was there.
One of them, Kay, that you may want to try is, are you familiar with meetup.com?
Yeah. Yes.
So I went into Meetup and I started putting in like wellness groups and that sort of thing. And I'm actually just about to sign a contract with it's called Inspirational Wellness Group. And they have 996 followers on Meetup.
Wow.
And so you sign the 6-month contract, you pay them a percentage to use their space. They push the marketing out to all of the acts. And so I'm going to do a 6-month contract with them, and I'll just schedule one session or workshop a month and give it a whirl. And I was kind of putting a calendar together of how do I want to do it? And Academic Life Coaching provides those workshops, those PowerPoint workshops. And I'm thinking, well, I don't have to create anything, right? I can schedule it. And if I charge $30 per person to come for a 90-minute session and I get 10 people, I pay these people 30% to use their facility and their marketing, but I may get one client out of those 10 people.
Mhm.
So that one's kind of exciting to me. I also have a friend who's a therapist, and went to her and said, so you work with a lot of clients who are high school students. So we're setting up a time and a place to promote within her clinic that, you know, there are these workshops that will take place. So just odd spaces, or maybe not so odd, but where are those moms and students?
Mhm. Can I ask you a question about that with the therapist?
Yeah.
I think I just heard you say, are you doing some kind of a clinic within, or a presentation
workshop.
within the clinic, a workshop
Yes.
that's being offered through the clinic?
Well, it's my workshop under New Heart Coaching, but it's going to be held in their conference room
Okay.
with little flyers at their location
Oh, okay.
saying, you know, attend this workshop.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea. Okay.
So, yeah.
And the meetup, that's in person too. That's not like an online thing, is it?
This one is not. This one will be in person.
Okay.
And again, all I do is go to their Google Calendar, and whatever dates are open, right now, there's no limit. There are 9 practitioners in that group right now. I'll be the 9th. And so we just go to the Google Calendar and you can select dates and times. And again, they'll push the marketing out.
Okay. That's interesting.
So it's like, well, where am I going to find 996 or 97 people who may be interested?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that percentage is worth it for me right now to have my name out there.
The other two places that come to mind that do marketing for you, so like the meetup is a great idea. The other two that I'd like to share with you are in our geographic area anyway, many of the high schools offer continuing education in the evenings. And it tends to be oriented to adults. And it could be anything. It could be learning another language or, I don't know, auto repair. But they almost always have a sequence for parents around how to help your high school junior, senior get ready for the college application process. You know, what's the process around and the timing and the timeline for when should your junior be taking the SATs, when should they, you know, all that kind of stuff. And that venue is a great place to offer a workshop because parents are, you know, in the community, they're tuned into that resource when they have college age, you know, or students who are bound for college, children who are bound for college. And they do all the marketing. You know, the continuing ed program does all the marketing. You get paid a nominal amount, like Joanne was saying, it's $25 or $30, and they get a portion of it. But this is more getting you in front of your target audience.
Right.
So there was that, and then what was the other one that was occurring to me as we were talking? Oh dear. Oh, college fairs.
Oh,
Which is what I've done in the past. So in our area, some are national college fairs that go to a big, you know, event center in Boston, but many of the local high schools offer their own college fairs. College representatives come, and they typically have a panel of speakers or breakout workshops that are offered for the parents and the students. And that's a fabulous way to get yourself in front of parents and kids who are actually going through that college application process or of the high school, typically high school age.
Do either of you, well, and Kay, you have a different scenario because you're already in the school, but do either of you go into the school to try to promote within their school?
I haven't.
Well,
Okay.
so I don't do anything at my school that I'm at. I just kind of draw that line of I need to be the school counselor there, and I just think I can't confuse what I do. But I actually, the continuing ed part, I did last year connect with the continuing ed at a local public high school. And I did a class. I did what we called an ALC class after school.
Yeah.
And because of the way this high school works, their continuing ed person is in the high school. And so he coordinates all classes that are offered for the high school students. And they do some evening classes, but we had arrived at that my class would be after school. And so I did that for, let's see, I think we started out in the fall and we didn't get any signups. And so then we bumped it to January. And I had about 8 students that had signed up, and I started meeting with them. It was with the idea that we would do 10 sessions after school once a week. And what happened is it kind of trickled down to about 3. And then in the end, it trickled down to 1 at the very end. And I actually had a great feedback from that parent. So I feel like it reached the 3 students. I think parts of it reached them. But he's just contacted me again, and they've renewed their grant, and he's asking if I am interested in doing that again. So I'm going to talk with him, but I'm thinking of, if he feels strongly that we just offer this as a class again for 10 sessions, I'm open to that. But I'm kind of wondering about doing maybe a handful of workshops and call them workshops for the student, because I think those 10 sessions, I think they felt like too much for these high school kids after school. I mean, these are kids, at least the 10 that signed up, there were, or not the 10, however many I had at the beginning, but they are from low income families. And so I knew they weren't, I was happy. I was really glad to be reaching these students. But they also have a lot of other circumstances in their life that they had to work. They worked at McDonald's after school. They had to handle transportation with their family because they had 1 car. So I started seeing things like that just interfered with them following through with it. So I think the 10 sessions felt too much for them. And so I think this idea of maybe just offer workshops and just call them, some workshops where they're offered so that maybe it can be advertised through the school, because this coordinator was great. He had signs up in the halls and everything. So if we offer them as workshops, maybe that will, draw more in, but they just know, oh, this is a one-time workshop that's going to boost me in my academics and my planning, and just try that. So that's kind of the idea I might approach this time. So
we lost Joanne. So I'm taking the 10 sessions were individual sessions. There were 10 individual sessions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you mean with individual students?
Yes.
No, I did it as a class.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of group coaching. Yeah. Yeah. But it's to have a school like that to be endorsing and promoting you. That's a wonderful thing. And if you do it in 1, then you can start to think about populating that, duplicating.
Yeah. Here's the downside of it, though. This coordinator I think I've made a good connection with him. But the downside is, and here I am a school counselor, but the school counselors at that high school did not want me to put on the flyers that I could also do. I could see students individually, but that would be for a fee through my business. And those school counselors said they didn't want that to be on there because they felt like it was a bait and switch kind of thing. So I don't have support from the counselors who probably would promote it, and they're not So they're not supporting it. So it's a little bit of a tricky political thing too. So I've got to talk to him about that and just see if there can be some other support for that. Because I mean, in the end, I'm happy to do the class. I do agree that it is ways to get myself out there, but I also, would like to. I mean, it's a huge high school, so I would love for the promotion for families to know they could just access me for their teen, one-on-one, as opposed to this class setting that's only going to be a scheduled time. I obviously would work with their schedules at another time, but so yeah, there's a few details I feel like I need to work on.
A lot of different ideas. Joanne, I don't know if you can hear us. Oh, no, there we go. Oh, dear.
Oh.
Well, yeah, Kay, did that help answer your question?
Yeah, no, I love to hear what everybody's doing. I think I just soak it up. It's nice to hear how everybody's, looking at their businesses and how they're operating them. And obviously it's been interesting in everybody's different areas, what they do. So I just appreciate that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Joanne, sorry that you're having technical problems there.
Omaha's going in and out.
Oh dear. Well, stick with us.
I'm sorry.
Let me throw out another question that was okay. Actually, this could be interesting. How can coaches better understand what their clients are looking for in order to market and develop their services?
Ask.
Yeah. I guess you talk to them.
Yeah. Get out and ask.
So let's talk about how you could ask, because there are actually some structured ways you could ask and some informal ways. Now I know some coaches who have done formal. The name of it is I'm blanking on the name of it. Where you focus groups. So I can think of a couple of coaches who did formal focus groups with parents and with high school students, with questionnaires. Or fairly open-ended, like what are the things that are stressing you out? What are you concerned about? What's something you wish you could change? I don't remember the exact questions, but and also having discussion, so that the flow of the conversation could bring up other topics. That helped her really understand what was on the minds of the high school students and what was on the minds of the parents. So what were the issues or the focuses or the problems that they wanted to address. Mm-hmm. So that's somewhat of a formal approach, but that's one way. Certainly asking as you're meeting, if you're doing any of these workshops or classes or meeting parents or youth, asking what would be a great focus? What would be something that you wish we could be working on? Mm-hmm. What would make a difference to you?
Well, I think when you first, when I first meet with or when I first talk with a parent is usually the first thing.
Yeah.
And in that conversation, I get from the parent what they think needs to happen and what they think their teen needs. And I've always, I listen to that, and then, I explain the process of how, okay, now let's set up a meeting with your teen. And I explain, and I'm going to ask your teen.
Yeah.
That I'm now going to get that feedback from them. And I try to, brace them for the fact that it might be different things from what they're saying too.
Absolutely.
So,
and that actually is a little different interpretation of this question. So your interpretation, Kay, is how do you understand what a specific client is looking for individual coaching? which yes, you do need to find out from the parent first, and then the students, and direct your work towards that. The other way to interpret this question is, as you're forming your marketing, as you're thinking about your ideal client, how do you better understand what the general population needs? You know, what is the problem you want to be solving as you are marketing yourself?
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good perspective too. Yeah.
So if you're, if you're like Joanne and doing a workshop in a large meetup group, having a sense of what would be on their minds, what would be a trigger for them that would really get them to sit up, them meaning the parents or the students, what would really have them sit up and listen and pay attention?
Well, that's a great way to start a workshop.
It really would be. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's on your mind? What's keeping you up at night? That actually was a question I used to use as I was talking to parents. What keeps you up at night?
That's a good one.
Yeah. And that actually directed a lot of the focus in my work.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. No, those are great ideas.
Yeah. Then the last question is really focused, and I'm not sure that I have any advice or thoughts. And okay, let's see if you do. And that is ideas that coaches can use to help them publish their first book. Any experience with that, Kay?
Well, that's one of my huge areas that I'd like to make happen at some point. So that does fit in something I'd like to do for myself at some point, is to have some kind of a book out there for and I don't know. So say the question again. How did they phrase it? Yeah,
ideas that coaches can use to help them publish their first book.
Oh, how to publish it? Oh, gosh.
Well, we could do this on even what to write about or how to get started.
Yeah, I have lots of ideas of what to write about and things that I've started to work on. And then the whole idea of how to publish, I've been doing all kinds of research and looking into, there's a ton of information about how to get books out there. So I think you just research all those areas and decide which one fits. I have a few ideas of what I might jump on at some point when I feel like I'm more organized with what I want to do for my book. But I have a close family friend who is an author, and she actually puts together writers' workshops and retreats and things like that. So I know at the point that I'm ready to really leap with that, I'm just going to contact her.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. And I'll just let her lead me through it. So I mean, probably the answer to the question is you just find your network of people, and get the best suggestions.
Because there's doing an ebook, which would be very different than self-publishing something as hard copy.
Yeah.
Which would be an even different process from trying to find a publisher who would publish.
Yeah.
So, and I think...
there's so much out there. Yeah. There's so much out there about... What's that?
What's your motivation? What is it about writing a book that's appealing to you?
For my ideas, that the idea that I want to have a book or write a few books is for young people, is probably my motivation comes from just trying to reach young people in a lot of different ways. And I think having a book that you know, you can just give to them. And I mean, I guess it's the hope that they're going to read it. So it better be written well, and it better catch their attention. But, you know, I see so many students through my schools, and I do presentations and lessons with them in class, and I talk to kids all the time in school. And then I have a number of outside school things and my business that it's not always the easiest thing to get them just right in front of you and be able to say what you want to say to them. So I think the idea, a book is another medium as a way to support them. So that's probably my motivation. That you know, is there information? Is there, you know, it's like being an academic life coach. I believe I can do great things to support kids if they're in front of me, and or if I do a class, and or if I work in my school. But there's a lot of other kids out there that may not be having, you know, the information around them. So, you know, a book is another way that if you put that book in places that it can reach, you know, young people that might not access any information otherwise, then that's a good thing.
Yeah, so we're broadening your reach. Yeah.
Besides, I enjoy writing, so.
Oh, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's a wonderful motivation, because it's going beyond yourself. You know, as you know, if you're motivated by something outside of yourself, and, you know, in service of others, that tends to be a strong motivating force. So,
Right.
well, good luck with it.
Yeah. Yep, it's one of the many projects I have going. but no, I think it's important. I mean, it's definitely something I feel like is a good, you know, at this point, I mean, I've worked with kids and families for so many years that I feel like, you know, why not put some ideas and some of the things I've seen and just support those families in other ways.
Yeah.
So
fabulous. Well, keep us posted. Keep us posted on it.
Yeah, I will. But I think that question, whoever sent that in of how to do it, I just think there's so much information out there. It's just a matter of, you know, kind of dialing into the way that you want to get your book out there.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there are a lot of courses and workshops as well on that.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Very good. Well, we have a few more minutes. Is there anything else, Kay, that would be helpful for you today?
Gosh, I've been happy to be here. I can't think of anything other than things that I'm going to get moving on and get rolling here.
So, well, welcome back. It's good to see you again.
Thanks. Now, I appreciate you doing this. It's a great thing to put this together.
Well, we'll do it. So our next same session will be first Tuesday in December, which is the December 6th. Then I'm probably going to be taking January off. Let me just take a quick look at that, just to give you a heads up, because I think it's right around the New Year, and that's going to be, yeah, I'm going to be taking January 2nd off. So we're not going to do one in January, and we'll pick it up again in February.
Okay.
All right.
Sounds great.
Wonderful. Good. Hope we see you in December.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay, have a great day. Bye-bye.